Hello Gators, let's look at what your assignments are today. For Thursday, April 9th, you need to complete your daily language review, complete your daily reading comprehension, revise your writing to make it better, and present your myth in Flipgrid. You guys have been doing a fabulous job. You're doing your daily language review and correcting sentences. Nice job. Combine these to make one sentence. Right now, looks like you've got two sentences right here and down here at file. So please see if you can make that into one sentence. Prepositional phrases. This, I think it might be, we haven't studied this for a while, so I gave you some prepositions over here. And if you look, you see the preposition here is in. Prepositional phrase is in the beginning. Over here we have the preposition around. Here we have around the bend. A phrase is a group of words. A preposition at the beginning makes it a prepositional phrase. Now, a prepositional phrase might be helpful in a sentence because if we have the word the dog sat, okay, well that's a nice sentence, but the dog sat under the tree, well that really helps me understand where the dog is. Or the dog sat before eating his food. The dog sat by my uncle. The dog sat without looking first. So you can make preposition, now that you know what prepositional phrases are, maybe you can explain how they can make sentences better. In your daily reading comprehension, we're going to read about the world's toughest car. It is the car that the president uses. President Obama used one. President Trump uses one now. All the presidents have a special car that's very safe. Please read about that using the text features and the graphic features and use those to help you. Down here in the strategy practice, it does say to tell a partner. In order for me to know that you told a partner, go ahead and take a picture of you telling your partner about the diagram. Here is the main part of today's work. You're going to write and perform your myth. Today, in order to write and perform your myth, you will start by reading the story that you wrote from Wednesday. Now let's go. Yesterday you should have seen this box because I copied it from Wednesday. Alright? You should have written a story either in Microsoft Word or you wrote it down below. So go back to Wednesday and find your story. Alright? And you are going to read your own story first. Okay? And you're going to read it out loud to yourself. And at that point you're going to stop and you're going to make any changes that you need to make. Okay? If you found mistakes, please change them. Because the next step is going to be to ask another person to read it out loud. Do not choose somebody who is little. Okay? If you got a first grade brother, please don't ask him to read it because that will not be helpful to you. Please find somebody your age or older to read it out loud to you. Some of you may need to wait until someone comes home to do this step, and that's okay. If you turn this in late or even tomorrow, I understand. Now, while they're reading it, you need to listen to them. What do you need to do? Listen to them as they read it, because you will hear mistakes that you made. You will hear areas where you're like, oh, that's not what I meant to say when someone else reads it. All right. Who did you have read it? Please write their name here. Okay, you can write the name Mom. If Mom read it, write her name in there. If Trigger read it, write Trigger's name in there. All right. Anthony, if you read Evans, then Evan will write your name in there. Okay. Now, let's say that you have Trigger. Let's say you have Trigger read your writing. When he is done, he's read your story, then you take your iPad back. And now you're going to ask them the following questions. And there's a conjunction. Write their answers. So you're going to ask them the first question. What are the names of the god or goddesses? And if Trigger, after reading your writing, says, there are no gods and goddesses. Oh no. Well, then that doesn't make it a myth, does it? Because a myth has a god or a goddess. So you need to go back and say, okay, well, thank you for that information. And you keep going. And you ask them, what is the problem in my story? Remember, the problem needed to be that pride gets the main character in trouble. If they don't say that the main character was proud, or if they don't say that pride was the main problem, or something like that, if they say the main problem was the sandwich was cold, or if they say something that has nothing to do with pride, then you need to stop and go back and fix your story. A third question is, what does my story explain? Does my story explain why there are reruns on TV? Does my story explain where the iPhone came from? Does my story explain why sisters are annoying? If your story does not explain why something exists, then you need to go back and revise your writing. Do you have any suggestions that make my story better? Please listen to people. And if they say, nope, it's perfect, and if they've answered all of these, and you have your gods and goddesses, and you can tell why something exists, and the main character gets in trouble because they are proud, then you are ready to perform your story. But some of you will need to change who your main character is because it's not a god or a goddess. You're going to need to add that pride is a problem. You might need to remove a character that's not a god or a goddess, or you might need to remove some other problems in your story. Some of you might need to start over on this one because you're like, oh, I totally did this wrong. Now, if you did it right, here's the link for the Flipgrid. This is the backup link if Matthew's myths don't work out. You should see this when you get there. All right, and then go ahead on in and do and present. Remember, this could be a puppet show, this could be a skit, this could just be you sitting on a chair reading me what you wrote, or reading to the whole 5th grade what you wrote. I hope to hear everybody having written. There are 75 students. I can't wait to hear 75 myths for how things came to be.